Okay, good afternoon. My name is Holly Dinnany, and I am with Family Partners of Morris and Sussex County, and it is my privilege to welcome you to our weekly Lunch and Learn program. Format of our program is we are inviting you to have lunch with an expert. And as it is lunchtime, we are way okay if you are nibbling and you want to keep your camera off. But I will tell you that we like to see smiling faces of our friends who are on the call. So if you'd like to turn your camera on, we invite you to do so. Today's conversation is just that. It's a conversation. As you know, we work very hard to bring speakers to this program who bring us insight, who bring us knowledge, who allow us to meet different organizations in the community that can help us and support us and the families that we serve and the children that we love. And today, in lieu of like a formal presentation, we have the honor of someone joining us. Donna Miller is the president and founder of C3 Workplace. And it's been my privilege to see Donna in action through the Chamber of Commerce, the Morris County Chamber of Commerce. And I received some of her emails on a lot of the motivational and helpful information that she gives business owners on being successful businesses. She has received too many rewards for me to name. She has been recognized hither and yon. She has done podcasts. She has done a lot of different articles, and she's out there encouraging people to be the best that they can be. And so I approached Donna because I had saw a blog. Donna, the email that came in the title was, "I Miss the Beach, Avoiding Burnout in 2021." So of course, immediately I was like, I've got to read this. And I liked that immediately you opened the article up with, but wait, am I the only one who's feeling a little burnt out? Am I the only one that doesn't have my toes in the sand this winter? And I thought, okay, she's picking up on the vibe that I'm feeling for myself as a professional who's privileged to be working remotely. I'm happy to still be working and serving families. But I'm also experiencing what I know a lot of my colleagues that are on this call that are experiencing, which is a disconnectedness from reality and from work. And maybe it's sort of like everything sort of comes together into this perfect storm of lack of focus and direction, or maybe even a lack of feeling like we have control over our life. So I reached out to Donna because she seems like she has a lot to say on this topic, to be honest, a lot of upbeat things, which I like. I search for optimism and I search for guidance. So Donna is here to talk to us today just about, the fact that running our lives is serious business, right? Whether or not we're a business owner, like we should really approach our choices and how we spend our time with some intention. So the cool thing is today I invite you all to come off mute. If you have a question, if you have a comment on something that Donna has to say, because we really want this to be conversational. You're having lunch with an expert, and Donna Miller is our expert. And I'm gonna start the conversation, but I'm gonna invite you to join it. Is Donna, before the call started, I said to you, one of the things, and I've done a lot of reading on you and some of your experiences, and one of the things I really admire is you're a self-made woman in many ways. You've kind of started, not always, you've kind of come around some different doors, getting into opportunities and getting into your business life and taking charge of who you are and who you want to be. And I'm interested in anything in that regard that you'd like to share with us, because it's really,
Sure.
your story is interesting. It's a unique one.
So I appreciate that, Holly, and I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy to share my story. But I'm wondering if before I share my story, either through the chat window or, turning your video on and raising your hand, I really would love to hear from some of you that when you joined this Lunch and Learn today, what is it that you're hoping we're going to talk about? I'm always about trying to make it the best experience I can. So is there anyone, whether chat window or through, just unmuting, what is it that you're hoping Holly and I are going to talk about today? Because bottom line, I show up to serve. So my real question is, how can I help you today? So I'll give you all a minute for someone. The first one, it's always hard for the first one to be brave. So I'm going to encourage one of you to be brave and tell me what you're hoping to hear today.
We'll watch. This is like, we should do Jeopardy music.
That's exactly what goes on in my head. Dee, 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 dee. Some of the people are probably too young to know that.
And I think what you're saying too, Donna, is the 3 C's in your business name, C3 Workplace, stands for
Connect, collaborate, community.
And another reason I wanted to bring you here is because I know you feel so strongly about those things, and the people that are on this call, that's the work we do. We're helpers.
So tell me, Candace wants to know, I am curious about work-life balance because it's so hard. I'm here to tell you, I think it's a myth, but there's hope, and I will come back to that. So tell me, Holly, or anyone on the call, what is it that you all do on a day-to-day basis? Help me to understand the role, the challenges. I think I have an understanding, but I want to make sure I'm clear.
And you can come off mute, or you can drop it in the chat, whatever you'd like to do. And I like that I'm seeing people who are eating lunch in their car. Jessica, thank you for being on camera. We are multitasking.
We all are. Absolutely.
We are squeezing things in that we thought we couldn't squeeze in, and some things get dropped.
So Holly, what is it that we're okay? So we're senior in college, with graduation approaching, keeping busy with final papers and other work. Well, that's some serious pressure. I remember from 100,000 years ago.
Mom of 2 kiddos, 5 and 7, one special needs, sports mom, working full time. That's one person, by the way, Donna. That's a lot for one person to have on the plate. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that is a lot, Candace. Okay. So feel free to keep putting your comments or just unmute and jump in. Feel free to interrupt. Honest to goodness, happy to help. So I work with parents who have special needs children. Okay, so I'm going to tell you something that I don't often say when I speak, but one of the reasons I was happy to do this is that I raised my children in Sussex County. When I opened my company 26 years ago, my children were 10 and 7. I had 2 children. Not only was I working full time, I was commuting. You know, if you live in Sussex County and you commute, you know it's at least an hour each way, right? So I was and by the way, they were my stepchildren. So I got married and became an instant mom. Hello, because I am the overachiever in the crowd, everywhere in my life. So got married, 2 stepchildren, sole custody, commuting, working, and both my children were special ed. My daughter, little perceptual challenges. She just needed a little extra help. My son, he had kind of the full boat, and he was the full boat where you didn't, I'm going to say this, and I know you all say, some things you see, and then, so he had all the invisible things that manifested themselves as behavior issues. So here I was, newly married, 2 children, learning disabilities, commuting an hour each way, and I thought, gee, wouldn't this be the perfect time to open my own company? I don't know what I was thinking. But the reason I opened my company way back when was because I wanted to be a mom first, and I wanted to make a decent living, and I just didn't see that happening where I was. So I worked for a competitor for 7 years, tried to buy the business from him. He wouldn't sell it to me. I did what he later referred to as despicable. Only time in my life I've ever been called that, which was I took a 6-month course, I wrote a business plan, and I raised enough money to open a very successful facility 1.2 miles from where he, may I say, used to be located.
Ooh.
So Holly said at the beginning, I got to tell you, I have a high school degree. That's it. I have a high school degree, and somewhere in my upbringing, my parents, intentionally, unintentionally, and I had a very simple blue collar upbringing, Bergen County, New Jersey. Dad's a truck driver. Mom goes to work. They get divorced when I'm in high school. You know, like I just didn't have things handed to me. And I sometimes say I'm like Hamilton, young at heart, scrappy, and ambitious. I mean, I just was born with that stuff. And you know what? I always say to people, you all have those skills as well. It's a matter of um, if you're willing to apply them. So I never, and this was kind of a naive gift from God. I happen to be a woman of faith too, and that certainly played a role in all of this as well. I don't know. I just never saw failure as an option. When I saw something, and I think all of you are probably similar in the roles, you are trying to level the playing field for the people that you're working with because they're at a disadvantage isn't the right word because I don't like to frame things in negativity. They have the opportunity to create different solutions. That's how I see the world. I don't see challenges. I see here's an opportunity to think outside the box, to come up with a solution that maybe no one has thought about, turn things upside down, see around corners. And so, you know, like Holly said, I have a pretty simple upbringing. I didn't go to college. That wasn't an option for me when I graduated high school. And so, as Sheryl Sandborn would say, I kicked the crap out of Plan B. I went to work as a secretary. I liked it. I was good. I got promoted. Then I worked in this industry and I opened my own company. And I often say when I opened my own company, I unintentionally opened a values-driven company. And as much as I hope to inspire you today, I hope that you latch onto something that you take action on because that's where transformation happens. Listening to me is not going to do anything for your life or your career if you don't decide to walk away from this little lunch and learn and do something different. And it's okay if you don't want to, but the truth is change and transformation come when you take action. So I'm going to talk about this elusive work-life balance. So using the chat window, anybody else struggling with work-life balance? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Give me some love in that chat window, people. Come on, wake it on up. Even if you're on your phone, you can do it. Jackie, yes, she's got it. Holly,
I like it.
Jasmine,
Reactions. Yeah, there we go.
yeah, Jessica, Kenya Gonzalez. Great. Okay. Definitely. Okay, so here's my belief. My belief, and this is just what works for Donna Miller, my belief is that there is no such thing as work-life balance. I think that's the biggest part of the problem is everybody is chasing something that doesn't exist. Rather, I believe and I have achieved work-life integration. Big difference. I believe that every day of my married life. Oh, Jennifer, that's funny. I believe work-life integration is, first of all, acknowledging that balance as a word in this particular regard is probably setting yourself up for failure.
Mm.
And I think as human beings, we do that more often than we realize, right? So to me, work-life integration is a seesaw. Some days work wins, sometimes family wins, sometimes romance wins, sometimes it doesn't. So I think that you have to think in terms of integrating your all the areas of your life. And the other thing that I don't like about the phrase, even just work life, we are so much more than work life integration. There are so many areas of our life, and I want to encourage all of you to take a look at all of them. So you've got career. Yes, it's important to all of us, and we live in a very in an area of the country that requires you to kind of work hard to be okay. But we're also in this kind of materialistic society. And I think, you know, the first thing I always encourage people to do around finance and money is really to think about what's enough. Like, you know, I'm here to create margin. I want to make the world a better place. I don't need to drive a ridiculously expensive car. Although I do have a Tesla on my vision board. There's that integration piece, right? Okay, so the different areas of your life, your career, your family, your key relationships, your health, your spiritual life, your romance or marriage or whatever you have. what are all the different areas of your life? And I have this exercise where it's a round wheel, and you rank each area on a scale of 1 to 10, and then you connect a line. And the truth is, you go from a circle to a octagonal, I don't know what, and think about how hard it is to push something that's so out of balance as opposed to something that's in balance. So the first thing I would say about work-life integration is, where are you? Where are you? What are the areas of your life that you feel are being the most neglected? Right?
Donna, something I was thinking is it's interesting how with COVID, it has sort of forced us to take a different look at our lives because it's taken some things off the table. I know families we serve, for some families, it was really great to not have soccer practice 2 hours away 5 times a week. Like don't you think it's been, I mean, I know it's been a challenge. Don't misunderstand.
I know. I think, I believe everything happens for a reason. I believe in God's perfect plan. And I believe everything, no matter how difficult it is, has something to teach us. And I really believe COVID was about telling us all to slow the heck down and really refocus on what's important. And, my kids are now 37 and 34, so I haven't had the whole, crazy sporting schedules that a lot of the young moms have now. And I just think to myself, I don't think we're doing anyone a favor. I think we're teaching these kids that busy is good, and that's not my belief. People wear busy like a trophy. Well, you're busy, then it's burnt out, and then it's sick. So, yeah, I think COVID has been an opportunity for all of us to slow down a little bit and really decide what's important. We've developed hobbies. I think I might actually finish that cross stitch I started 10 years ago. Yeah, I think COVID has given us that opportunity. So I would encourage you to take a look at your life, decide what are the areas of your life that you really want to work on, the areas that you want to focus. And as far as work-life integration goes, there's a bunch of different things I could say that I've done to improve mine. So for me, I set out to build a company that would fund the life of my dreams, and I didn't want to be there all the time. So I built a team. So that's what I did. I built a team, and truthfully, could I have made more money if I didn't build the team? Probably. Is that the life I wanted? No. Now I have something that's scalable and saleable, which in my world is a beautiful thing. So a few tips on work-life integration, because I kind of think that's where the conversation is. And then I'm going to share with you what I do every week still. I think the number one way for you to improve your work-life integration is to learn to, ready for it, ask for help. Oh my gosh, I work with people all the time on this. How many of you are happy when someone asks you for help? Come on, throw it in the chat window. Yes, 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 yes. No, 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 no. How often are you really glad, you feel a little validated, you feel kind of important when someone asks you for help? Yes. Tracee says yes. Victoria, Krista, you're all saying yes. Now, at the same time of you, great, Diane, sometimes. That's a good answer, Jennifer. That's a really good answer, and I'm going to come back to that. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so let me ask you another question. How easy, is it easy, yes or no, for you to ask for help? Yes or no? Right? Do we see the inconsistency here? It's in black and white, right? You love when people ask you for help because it makes you feel important. It makes you feel needed. It makes you feel validated. It makes you feel like you're giving to the world. But yet, we don't want to ask for help, which means, hello, we're robbing people of that opportunity to feel needed, to feel valued, to feel respected, to feel part of. So try and turn that table on asking for help. It sounds so simple, but it is a game changer. So that's probably my number one tip for work-life integration. And then, there's a lot of things I can say. Keep it simple. Try and keep things simple. Don't get it complicated. For many people, Andrea learned to ask when her health was not good. And, it's possible, and it's not possible. It's a reality that when we are out of balance, especially if we're stressed out, that is absolutely going to manifest itself in some sort of health problem. It could be a physical health problem. It could be an emotional problem. I mean, I got to tell you, for me, all my years of stress, I joke that my drug of choice was food. So I always had an issue with food and my weight, and I've finally gotten that under control. But it shows up somewhere. It just does. So learning to ask for help is simple. And the other thing is, embrace technology. This goes to your career and it goes to your personal life. I have so many little apps that I use to make my life easier, whether it's a calendar scheduling tool, whether it's I use this program called CRM, Customer Relationship Manager. It's where I keep all my notes so I don't have to remember things. There's no stress. I put all my tasks in there. And the other thing that I do, and I want to spend a few minutes talking about this because it's pretty important and it is a big game changer for me, is I schedule everything. How many of you use an electronic or a paper calendar in the chat window? Electronic paper. Tell me what kind of calendar you use. I want to grab something. Both electronic. Okay. For those of you that are using both, is it the same information on both? Or is that kind of business and personal? No. I use paper calendar. Okay. Electronic for work. Okay. Well, I think the truth is, and I don't know how much you can do this, but I would encourage you to explore a way to merge those calendars because you are one person. So whether it means you have to create some sort of third calendar that marries the two of them so that you can keep them separate and then put the two of them together. The truth is, you are only one person. You only have 24 hours a day. I don't care if it's work or business. That's all you got. And so if you can, find a way to merge your calendar or create a process where you merge them manually. Not ideal, but it will be better than nothing. Here's what I do every Sunday night. Every Sunday night, I spend 30 to 60 minutes planning my week. So remember I said, look at all the areas of your life and think about what you want to work on. Here's my list. I have a list of things that I make sure are on my calendar. I have a large project that I'm working on, a personal project. I make sure that's on my calendar. I always spend time every week to think. I schedule thinking time about strategy. I am now the chief visionary officer for my company. I have a team that runs C3 Workplace, and I have to make sure they have what they need. I spend all of my time these days working with business owners. I am a business growth consultant. So I spend time every week just thinking about my strategy. I spend time every week dialing for dollars. It's how I make it rain. I spend time every week learning. I am a student for life. I have a high school degree, but I am telling you, I have an MBA in growing businesses because I've helped thousands of companies and I am exceedingly well read. I make sure every week that I am working on my key relationships. And for me, I want to have dinner with one of my girlfriends at least once a week. At least once a week. I also take time every Sunday because I've had that weight problem all my life. I make sure I have food in the house so that I have decent food to eat. And if I don't, thank you, COVID, I go online and I do my food shopping and they deliver it to me, which I love. It cost me $15. I'm sure I'm saving $50 in impulsive purchases that I'm not making. It's crazy. Um, I also schedule time each week for inspiration. So for me, inspiration is art, music, opera. What is it that really kind of fuels my soul? I also make sure that my exercise time is blocked on my calendar. And I also make sure that I have self-care on my calendar every week. And self-care, could be a number of different things. It could be getting my nails done. It could be getting a facial. It could be taking a hot bath. Sometimes you only get 10 minutes to do what you got to do. But here's the thing. The reason I use a calendar and I put everything on the calendar is I'm a little bit of a visual person. And so I need to see what my calendar looks like. And if I can, I'm just going to show you real quick. This is what my calendar looks like on any given week. I can't do any more than what's already on this calendar. There's no more time. So this is just how my life is. Every week is plotted out on my calendar. And
what's your color coding? Anything on there, your fun stuff? Do you have a special color for your fun stuff?
So everything blue is personal.
Nice.
So blue is personal. Green is money, honey. Those are my IPAs, my income producing activities, right? So content is purple and strategy is purple. That's a power color to me. So then what I do is, in the interest of focus, I print out my day. Now that's my to-do list. And are you ready for it? I shut off my Outlook. I check my email twice a day. Are you all like having a little bit of DTs right now? Well, let me tell you, checking your email 42 times a day is serving no one. And not only are you serving no one, you're training everyone who knows you that you check your email 42 times a day.
Wow. Mind blown right there, Donna.
Right? So Sunday night planning, plotting everything on the calendar, printing the day, shutting Outlook off, checking email twice a day.
Wow.
It has been a game changer for me. I'll be really honest with you. This is probably my single greatest game changer. I also have a business plan that I follow meticulously. I write it in a way where those are the things that transfer to my calendar. And this is the same way I work with business owners and professionals when I'm helping them with business growth. It's strategy, execution, and accountability. And I got to tell you, it's the same thing whether you're running a family or a business. What do you need to do? How are you going to do it? And how are you going to stay on track? Same thing. It's
Donna,
just really.
When you were saying that before, that's what I loved, is like the whole asking for help. I mean, we all think professionally, but even in your home, who's your team in your home, whether that's just you and a spouse, whether that's, children or whatever.
Right. And I think that's the other part of work-life integration and just coping with life in general. I mean, life is hard, and my children are older now, but I so remember what it was like to have young kids and running to schools and programs and daycare and this and that. And, gosh, I remember, and I'm dating myself, I remember having a car phone before anyone had a car phone, and that sucker was hardwired into my car, and it was portable with like this 42-pound box that I would take with me. But it was like how I would get more done. I'd make calls in that, that hour-long drive. I was making calls. I was trying to figure out how to make it happen. So there is a lot to balance, but the truth is, and I don't think I'm telling you anything you don't know, but you cannot do it all. No one can. And I like Candace's red in our calendar means non-negotiable. Awesome. I also have a color in my calendar, black. for waste of time. And I am not allowed to have more than 2 black things a week in my calendar. So those are things that no longer serve the greater good. So the other part of all of this, asking for help, planning your week, plotting it on your calendar, not living in your email. And I learned a lot of this, many books, but anybody ever hear of Tim Ferriss? He's a wackadoo, brilliant guy who wrote a book called The 4-Hour Workweek. And I read it about 10 years ago, and there are a few things that stuck with me. And you know, first of all, the concept of working a 4-hour work week. I mean, who wouldn't like to work a 4-hour work week? I personally don't even think he does. I think that's BS, but whatever. But at this point, I'm trying to work. I work pretty much 3 days a week, and it works for me. So, but another concept that he put in place, and this kind of goes, or a concept that he introduced, and this kind of goes to asking for help, is he talks about working on your MBA. And, you know, that's not the MBA that you're thinking. It's rather management by absence. So in asking for help from my team, the way I built my team was I stepped away and I let them do it. So part of my evolution has been becoming a leader and not a manager, empowering other people around me. I believe that we're all leaders. We lead from exactly where we are. There's always someone who's coming after you. There's always someone who's gone before you. Our job, I believe, is to raise up people. That's consistent with my faith, and it's what I do in business as well. And it's a form of asking for help, but it's a form of asking for help where you're literally helping other people to help themselves.
Donna, I want to say something if I can, and I would be welcome feedback from others. But it's so interesting that you say that, because I think recently I was on one of the support groups. We run support groups every week, and there was a mom who was literally in the hospital with COVID, who was still on the call, but was very concerned about her children at home, which on the one hand is admirable and understandable, but it really brought to the forefront how I think there's a lot of women on this call. We as women especially tend to get ourselves into this. We want our children to need us and our families to need us, but then you kind of lose yourself in that whole, you know what I mean? Like, do you know where I'm going with that? It's sort of like,
I totally get it. I don't know if there's anyone else on the call that would agree with that.
Yeah, I think please feel free to chime in, but that's a really important, like your whole concept of looking at the wheel, right? Is who you are. We're getting definitely on there, who you are as a person, and also how you want to lead people, and how it is a gift to teach your children how to be more independent, or your spouse, or your work, your colleagues, right? We're also, sometimes fearful of letting them know how we do something because it might jeopardize our own, value. But I mean, I think that's the wrong way to look at it. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Well, and it's funny because how I've arrived where I'm at, and you talk about work-life integration, I am the sum of all parts of my life. So I told you a little bit about my children, and I know that you all understand what it is to raise children or support children with special needs. Another really personal piece of information is there's a lot of addiction in my family. So I spent many years in Al-Anon, and I began to understand the concept of codependence. You've probably all heard that term. And I think there does come a point in any relationship, business or personal, where helping can become hurting, right? You're helping to the point that you're stifling the other person's growth. So I think it's a seesaw. It's like a knife's edge that we have to walk on very carefully. And what my early steps into leading my team or being a leader to the people around me. Am I the only person that when you hear a problem, your immediate response is, I have a solution? Anybody? Do I have any fixers? So what I learned to do is to not be a fixer. Instead, I learned to ask open-ended questions. What do you think we should do? Have you ever encountered this before? If you were in charge of this particular thing, what would you do? And then your next greatest skill, ready? Shut up. Be okay with
Oh,
silence. Let them talk. When I first began the shift from, I refer to myself as a recovered micromanager because there was no situation I couldn't make worse in my office. Seriously, I was the world's worst. When I began the painful and long but transformative and really well worth it process of going from a micromanager to a leader, an inspiring leader, I started by having staff meetings so that I could get input from my team. You might even do it. I used to have family meetings on Sunday nights with my family because there were so many things going in so many different directions. And those first meetings, I did all the talking. Nobody said a word because I had this ability to suck the air out of a room. I didn't necessarily mean to do it, didn't know I was doing it, but it was happening. So I had a coach, and I've had many coaches over the years. She said, Donna, ask a question, and for the love of God, shut up. Wow. Yeah, your job has taught you to actively listen at home. What an amazing skill that is. And hello, everything you do, you're modeling for everyone around you. That includes your children, that includes your peers, that includes your clients, everyone. So we live, if we choose to, and this is something I choose to do, I try to live and lead by example. Let everybody be who they're going to be, and if they see something in me that they like and they want more information, I'm happy to have a conversation. I feel like I'm ranting. Questions, comments, thoughts, snide remarks? I'm good with that too.
Like I said, we're typically a quiet crowd, but I welcome any questions or even observations. I mean, I think Donna, you're hitting on so many nerves, at least for me. I mean, even with the, like, I'm going back over my notes here. Like when you mentioned the groceries, that is such, especially for people who are in charge of, right, the home and self-care, right, putting good fuel into your own body. I mean, you were saying having them delivered, it's like a $5 charge just to have them where you pick them up. Like that's something that COVID has taught me because we had to shelter in place. I mean, I think there's so many, and they're not really shortcuts, but they're ways of understanding what it is you're not the only one who can do it. Right.
Exactly.
Isn't, I mean, and what that does is opens you up to do things that I think we don't typically think about doing, which is like when you talk about, first of all, I noticed when you listed all your things on your calendar, self-care did not, like it for me, sometimes I'm like self-care is exercise and inspiration and learn, you're like that's not, those are separate categories. Like I think you're being very specific on your intentions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will tell you, I am a living, breathing example of writing your life into existence. I journaled this life into existence. I believe in the power of manifestation. I 1000% believe that your thoughts become your things, and you can control your thoughts. So yes, I'm very, very intentional. I mean, right now I use affirmations. I still do. It's just my affirmations have changed over the year. You know, I used to say I want to earn X dollars a year. Now the number's about 10 times that X. But I have a whiteboard. Well, first of all, I'm a whiteboard thinker. You could see my crazy thinking going on behind me. And I have one in front of me with my affirmations and my declarations. And underneath every day I have a goal or an intention. Today's intention and goal. Do I have any people who exercise out there? Today's goal for me is active recovery. You know what that means? I'm going slow. I have to be intentional about going slow. I don't go hard on Thursday. I go hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't go hard Thursday. I will hang up this call and I'm going for a little tanning session because I love how those 12 minutes of lights feel. I could give a crap about being tan. There's something about the light that lifts me. So that's a form of self-care. It's on my calendar. I'm like, all right, I got to do all this stuff this week, but when am I going to do something for Donna? So yes, I think being very intentional is insanely powerful.
And also, if I can, Donna, like I find everything you're saying exciting, but it's also, for some of us, it's overwhelming because it's so many things. Like when I'm looking at your recommendations, like scheduling, the Sunday night, but also just your time to think. I will venture to guess that most people on this call don't schedule time to just think about things, not about what you're doing for work, not about your grocery list, but I mean to think, even just to think about this conversation, right? Like, wouldn't it be nice if we could all say, I'm going to think for 30 minutes, 15 even? Because I think once you start doing it, I think you'll kind of understand why things kind of, I think you and I share something in common, Donna. On my good mornings, I start with my gratitude journal. Like I start with my cup of coffee and phone aside, and I try to think and be grateful. But what that does is it gives me time to also, then when it's quiet, other things settle, right? Like,
Right.
oh, I need to
Right.
make sure I call so-and-so and see how they're doing. So is that a bigger thing to put in a big rock,
Yes,
or?
it is a big rock. And one of the things I believe about work-life integration is one of the really important things is that you take breaks. We think go, go, go will get more and more done. But there comes a point where taking a break is the most productive thing you can do because we need rest. And when we come back from rest, our ideas have more clarity, our solutions come quicker, we have more aha moments. So whatever rest looks like for you, and you know, Holly, you talked about on good days you get up and journal. That's been something, you know, my personal habits are I do my Sunday night planning. Every morning I get up typically about 5 a.m., even on the weekends. I'm just used to it. And I spend about an hour. And you might not get an hour. You got young kids, you'll be lucky if you get 15 minutes. But take the 15 minutes and use them wisely. I journal. I journal gratitude. That's my prayer and meditation time. And I've been doing that for many, many years. When I talk about embracing technology, I have an alarm set on my phone 3 times a day to remind me to pray. I'm a woman of faith, but I have to remind myself to stay connected. And then at the end of the day, I have a little journal by my bed, and I do a little more gratitude. I'm not as good at night because I will get tired and fall asleep. But when I journal at night, it's again gratitude, but it's also how did I serve? Because that's really important to me. Those are my values: impact, faith, community. Actually, faith, impact, community. How did I serve? How did I help someone? And what did I do well? Celebrate. We don't do enough celebrating. You know, yesterday I printed out my day on the calendar and there was a lot on it. I didn't get it all done, but I bet I got 80% of it done. I celebrated. That's a win. That's a big win. So then I took the 20% and I moved it over to another slot on my calendar where I can get it done. So I think we do have to celebrate. And I think taking breaks is really important. Taking breaks, I'd like to say I do this all the time. I wish I did. I try not to sleep with my phone on my nightstand. I tell you what, the first couple times I did it, I literally think I had like DTs from not having the phone right next to me. But it's better. I sleep better if I don't have it there. So yes, there is a lot here. And that's why I'm saying take one thing. If you're looking to create some work-life integration, what was the one thing we talked about that really went, oh, that makes sense? Just do one thing. That's all. Just one thing. And I'm going to give you the hardest one thing. Warren Buffett says the difference between really successful people and successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. You have to learn to set boundaries and say no. For me, learning to say no started out with putting a pause in. Let me think about that. Can I get back to you on that? Tell me more. Let me see if it's something I can do. So, very honestly, I don't do a ton of pro bono anymore. And Holly said, would you? I said, let's talk. And we talked, and it's aligned with serving, right? So I'm here to serve. So instead of saying no, which I do understand is really hard, just say, let me get back to you on that. Put a pause in there. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it on you. We have 15 minutes left. And I realize you're all really quiet most of the time, but I'm going to call on you if you don't comment. So let me hear, what is your one thing? So when I really would like to go around the room, and I am going to call on each of you, and hopefully you can respond. So if there was one thing you could put into action, I would, because there is power in saying it out loud. You're declaring it to your peers, you're declaring it to the world. So Holly, I'm going to start with you. What's your one thing?
The one thing is the break in email, like not responding. And I'm going to lump that in with social media too, because that seems like it puts us in such a reactive
Yes, it does.
mode,
yes, it
and
does.
It's disruptive. So that's powerful. That's what I'm going to work on, the
so you're going to cut back
Outlook
on your
off. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go in the order you all appear on my screen. Krista Catano, what's your one thing? I don't know if your mic is working. You're unmuted.
I can't hear you, Krista.
You want to put it in the chat window for us and I'll read it? Well, we can all read it, but. So while Krista's typing, Jessica Santiago, what's your one thing?
I am going to start scheduling my life out. And journaling and manifestation.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Joanne Piero, what is your one thing? Get unmute.
Thank you. I like the whole idea with the pausing.
Oof.
To pause. I like that.
Let me get back to
and also taking the breaks with the emails, because I'm constantly checking my emails.
I have to honestly say, I don't think these made us any smarter.
No.
I think they're powerful, but we have to learn to disconnect from them. Okay. Michael Jaffoni, what is your one thing?
Nice pronunciation of the last name. Good job.
I get it right?
You did. You did get it right.
Lucky guess.
Yes. One thing that I would want to work on is the question.
Yes. What is your one thing you're going to take away and put into action?
I've been talking about this for a while, but I want to be able to take a little bit better care of myself and start exercising, because I'm getting older and you got to take care of yourself.
Okay, so let me encourage you to turn that into a SMART goal: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So what type of exercise, you don't have to answer me, but when you think about it, what type of exercise, how often? So get really specific.
All right.
All right?
All right. Yeah,
awesome.
No, that's good. Thank you, Donna.
You are very welcome. I see 862 has a hand raised. 862-268-2530. Go ahead, you're up.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi. This is Charlene O'Brien. I'm on my phone and it's not, I can't see anything, so it's very weird.
Hi, Charlene.
I wanted to contribute though. The one takeaway I'm going to utilize is to try to put all of my calendar items on one calendar. I really like that idea.
You are one person.
I love that. I love that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Now I'm calling where I don't see video. So if you can contribute, great. If not, we can pass. Oh, Krista started this new job, work from home environment. Everyone encouraged me to separate my work. Integration. She's going to schedule everything together. Yay. I mean, working at home has taught us we're only one person. All right. Jackie, what is your one thing? Can you unmute yourself?
Sure.
Yay.
Definitely, scheduling more on my calendar. I try to do it here and there with little things because I do find, if it's on your calendar, and I always put it as private if it's personal, but just so I can visually see it, then it's like an appointment and you have to do it. You can't miss it. But definitely doing that a little bit more, especially, during the day, just to get those little moments, I think would be helpful.
That's great. And you are in Morrison, Sussex County, so and I'm not sure how much this is, but the other thing I always put on my calendar is, of course you put a meeting on the calendar, but you have to put the prep time, you have to put the drive time. That's all part of having the meeting. If it's not on the calendar, you can't do 6 meetings in a day because you can't prep, you can't drive, you can't do the post work. So that's part of it as well. All right, Candace, how about you? Candace's audio isn't working.
Yeah, Candace, we can't hear you. We can see you, but we can't hear you.
Maybe, did you join audio? Maybe she didn't join audio. All right, well, you try and figure it out. I'm going to go to Diane Varga, who looks like she's ready to contribute.
Actually learning how to take time and schedule time for me, but learning not to remove it from the calendar when something else comes up.
There you go. And my recommendation there is if you want 1 hour a week to yourself, put at least 2, maybe 3 on the calendar. What's the worst that could happen? You get an extra hour to do something else? That is one of the ways I do that.
Candace typed something in for you, Donna. She said intentional gratitude.
Nice. I like that, Candace. That's really good. That's a game changer. And you'll hear that from a bazillion different experts on the matter. And the truth is, you can't be positive and negative at the same time. And intentional gratitude keeps you in the positive, and I believe then that's what flows into your life. That's my belief. Susan Friedman, you want to unmute and tell us your one thing? And if you guys don't want to unmute and you want to put it in the, here we go, Susan, walking every day after work, schedule things. My mic not working. There you go, walking every day after work. Can you do that when the weather's not nice? Maybe you have to have a plan B. Sounds great. Let's see, who didn't we get to? Did we get to, Holly, did we get to Jasmine? Yeah.
I'll tell you, but Kania, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, in the chat said, learn to say no and say, let me get back to you. I love the little catchphrase there.
There you go. That is very practical, something that you can put into place. Thanks for sharing that with us.
That's great. I think we have not heard from Jasmine. If I am, I apologize if I'm not correct.
Let's see.
Oh, Jennifer turned her camera on. Jennifer, do you have something you want to share?
There you go,
Yes.
Jennifer.
You gave us so many good information. I know I can only do one thing at a time until I master those things. But one thing that I'm lacking in my life, I know, is having creative time to really let my brain think, because I'm always going. My schedule, let's do this, do that, this or that. Especially like you said, when you have a special needs child, when he's home, it's like everything is him. So right now I have to start doing a creative thinking time. That's what I need the most.
That's fabulous. And I have to tell you, one of the things I do, because I need to create fertile soil for that creative time, I have lots of coloring books. And once you put yourself into a right brain activity, that creativity flows a lot easier. So when you think about scheduling time to think, see if you're having trouble, try a little simple right brain activity, whether it's coloring or, I don't know, arranging flowers. I happen to have a lilac bush that's killing it this year. So like I go every morning and I cut some off and I make some beautiful vases and put them throughout the house. So, all right, people are moving around, so I don't know who I didn't get to. Did we get to Tracee Stefanelli?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I was going to let it go though. I really love the taking a pause, increasing my chances of saying no by asking a little more about what that demand is. So I love that. I'm going to use that.
Right.
Mm.
And one of the ways you can do that is to make it even less difficult is when someone says to you, hey, Tracee, can you blah, blah, blah? And you can immediately respond by saying, great question. Because now you've made them feel heard, right? Maya Angelou always says people remember how you make them feel, not what you said or did, right? So great question. Let me think about that and I'll get back to you, right? Who didn't we hear from? Who wants to unmute themselves and declare to the world what their one thing is going to be?
I'm like you. I'm having a hard time remembering. I'm looking
I know.
at
I have to
Taylor. I
honestly
don't know
say
if
I
we
can't
heard from
remember.
Taylor or Deirdre,
Taylor.
and I apologize if we did and I'm forgetting. Oh, go ahead.
Hi, I love the idea of spending more time with your right brain and letting your creativity flow. And I also love the idea of taking a pause instead of being put on the spot and then having to say no, just, let me get back to you. I think is a great phrase to use.
Excellent. Excellent.
So thank you.
You are welcome.
I hope you see the comment, Donna. Krista says that your energy is amazing. Oh, maybe this is just to me. She says she feels like she could run a mile now. Sorry, Krista. But I have to say, I think this is why I wanted you to come talk to us, Donna, because I've witnessed this in many different forums. And I think the empowerment, the permission that you are granting us to really, really be intentional. And as you said, on many different ways, to take a beat and shut up. And that includes talking to ourselves. That includes committing to things that we don't need to jump on the, yes, I'll do that. And just giving ourselves time. Like I said, and I know other people echo this, so many things for us to consider. But first and foremost is really giving us time to think about what it is we should be considering, because I think you have said, I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I think you have said that you think every person on this call has the ability to make steps in a direction that will have a big impact. Baby steps will have a big impact. We've got to give ourselves time.
I totally believe that. I believe we're all here to change the world. I believe we all have the capacity to change the world. You are all working in such a amazing field. And I just want to read something for you that I heard probably 10 or 12 years ago. There have been some really game-changing moments for me. Some of them good, some of them not so good. But this was read to me, and I want to share it with you because it's that powerful. This is a quote by Marianne Williamson, and it comes from A Return to Love, Reflections on the Principles of A Course in Miracles. And I could send this to you, Holly, if you want to share it with the group.
Great, please. Yes, please.
Here we go. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, or fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And so what you live, you teach. How you live teaches. What you model teaches. And I really do believe that you all have the capacity to change the world. And I love the work that you're doing. And I really appreciate being here.
Well, thank you so much, Donna. I just want to make sure that you got some love from Jasmine in the chat, who said she has a lot going on and she couldn't come off speaker, but that she's going to go for the one calendar and utilizing the phone differently.
Awesome.
But awesome. I can't thank you enough for spending time with us today. The other thing Jasmine said was the energy. I just think, you know what, it's not the same. Virtual is not the same, but I will tell you, I feel you and I feel the people on this call and the hope, right? We all Absolutely. Have it in us. And not only when you were saying the modeling for others around us, I think sometimes, especially if we're parents, we feel pressure to model because it's like, oh my gosh, there's one more way I'm going to mess up my kid. But it's a different way of looking at it, is if you take time for you You are showing them that that is important for them to do for themselves. Same thing with your coworkers, right? I'll be back. I'm taking the dog around the block in 10 minutes. I mean, that's, I think those of us who are working remotely feel guilty doing that, but I'm hearing you say that is a necessary part of being a productive contributor to your team.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I can't thank you enough for being here. And everyone, thank you for chatting. And I know we're at the 1 o'clock hour. We are going to make, Donna has given me permission to share this conversation. So we will share it with you afterwards, and feel free to throw it to a friend. I think there were a lot of really great tips. And I will also share, Donna's going to, the quote Donna had, and anything else, Donna, that you want to throw my way as far as any other tools. I know you had mentioned apps that you like. Your little wheel, anything you want to throw our way, I will be happy to share. But thank you for making time for us today and our family partners weekly lunch and learn. And we hope that you stay in touch. Next week, or next month, I'm sorry, is May, believe it or not. And it is actually a mental health awareness month. So you will be receiving information shortly from us. We have some special lunch and learns that we hope to provide information available to you of all the different services that are available in the great state of New Jersey. So thank you for being with us today. Donna Miller.
Thank you, everyone.
And
It was
you
really
did not
great spending
disappoint.
time with you.
Donna.
That's great. Everybody stay healthy. Take care.